Welcome back, everybody. We are on day one, and I've got a little surprise. This is actually the only in-person interview that we'll have done over the course of the 3 days. And I'm super excited about this guest. It's a dear friend, longtime friend. We were kids growing up playing hockey and all kinds of stuff, and have just really run the roads for the last 30 years plus kind of thing. So um, Jason Ross is a health and safety manager, and today he's going to be talking about mental health. Of course, we're only in day one, and we're talking about this idea of opening up to new possibilities, new perspectives. The idea that we really can, if we want to, we can recreate our personality. We can create a new identity for ourselves. And I think, having gone through severe anxiety and panic attacks myself, mental health is something that's not talked about enough. And so, I really can't wait for you to dive into not only your story and your experience, but what you share with people in your line of work and,
Yep.
and that sort of thing. So
Sure.
thanks so much for being here, Jason. And
Yep.
yeah, just anything else you want to kind of say to intro yourself, and then love you just to dive into
Yeah.
the
No,
topic.
no problem. So, as Lee mentioned, we've known each other for 30 some odd years. I don't like saying that because it ages us a little bit, but we still like to say we're 29. But I think we're looking good for that. But let's move into myself. Yeah. So I'm a health and safety manager. So I've been in this industry for, I want to say, 25 years. I started out early in my career. I think the first 5 years I did emergency response stuff. So it was industrial confined space and high angle rescue. So I would go around basically countrywide, and myself and a team of other rescue techs would basically set up when industrial settings were having shutdowns. So just picture like confined space entries into boilers and high angle stuff over sides of buildings to go work on some pieces of equipment. So my team would go in and we'd set up the rope rescues if your crew was down there fixing the side of a boiler and you were stuck on your line, we'd have to rappel over to get you, or we'd go into an entry into a confined space and pull you out if something was going on. So that's the first 5 years of what I did, and then I ended up being sent out to Fort McMurray on a contract as a health and safety advisor, which was a big eye opening to me. I'd never really, outside of the in and around Ontario, I never went that far out west. So I got shipped out to Fort McMurray in and around when I was about 25 years old as a health and safety coordinator. And I realized what I could do in health and safety. So I switched out of the rescue side and then I went strictly into health and safety. So from there, I spent, I want to say it was 10 or 12 years in Fort McMurray, bouncing back and forth on a rotational basis. And then for the last, I want to say I've been home for, I'd say 6 years now, still in health and safety. And I've recently moved into the nuclear industry. So now I'm a health and safety manager on a major project at a nuclear center just about 3 hours from home in Chalk River. So that's kind of where I come from and who I am. Now, your second point to that question in regards to mental health. So, I had my firsthand experience at mental health about 5 years ago. I was, I'd say, about 30 or 40 days into a project in northern Manitoba, and I was coming out to what we consider Fly Day. So, Fly Day for our construction rotational work people is a big day. So, you've been in site, and then it's like, oh, mark that on the calendar. That's the day I get to go home with my family. So I'd done a long stretch. I was there for, like I said, probably around 30, 40 days, something like that. And I was driving out of Snow Lake, Manitoba en route to Flin Flon to catch a flight to get home. So it was myself, my director, and my director's assistant. And I drew the short stick and I ended up having to drive. So it was a cold Manitoba day. It was December 15th, somewhere around there. And as I mentioned, I was in there for a long time. So the exhaustion had set in. The conditions of the road were not good. So I'm white knuckled. I'm driving down this road. Uh, Bob is my director sitting beside me. And what had happened was I thought I was having a heart attack. So picture this: I'm driving down the road and I'm white knuckled on this thing, and I'm having a heart attack. Which in my mind, I'm having a heart attack, and I wasn't able to say anything to Bob, but I was going through like heart palpitations. Was sweating profusely. I got stuck in my head. I was tunnel vision, but I couldn't speak at the time. I couldn't say anything. So I was able to manage to get through that episode. About 15 minutes down the road, I started to have another episode. Same thing, same heart palpitation, same sweating. Couldn't say anything. Stuck in my own mind. So I don't know, about 20 minutes later down the road, I was able to slowly get through that. And then I said to Bob, like, Bob, I'm not feeling so good. I think you're gonna have to take over. So I hopped in the back of the vehicle, and for the next 2 hours of the drive, I thought this is going to be the last day that I have on Earth because I still thought I was having a heart attack. I was still feeling the same things, but uh, I really didn't think I was going to make it home to my family based on what I was feeling in the back of that car. And then, fast forward to 6 months, 3 months later, after that scenario, I finally realized that I wasn't having a heart attack and I was having a panic attack. I think you actually were in that Christmas, and yeah, it wasn't even that long. I think you had flown in that Christmas, and you were staying at the house, and we started talking, and then you were the first one to tell me, I don't think you're having a heart attack, you're having a panic attack. So, and that opened up, my eyes to everything to do with mental health. At that time, being in health and safety, people would come to us when they're struggling from, it could be a number of things, and mental health was one of them. But I really didn't appreciate what they were saying to me until I had that event, and post my own internal event, I've made that my mission moving forward in my role as a health and safety manager to push mental health as much as I can. And I'm happy to say that's what we're doing now. We can get a little bit deeper into that, but that's where I am. That's how I got into being a mental health advocate, and where we're moving forward with it is exciting things.
Yeah, and we've had a number of conversations, about the guys. You're off site lots of times. You're remote, and you talk about like post traumatic stress and guys and people being away from their families, and so maybe just talk a little bit more about the situations with your particular line of work, and what you guys are actually doing to support people in moving through these mental health issues.
I can give a little bit more context of basically what rotational work is. So it all depends on where you're at, what kind of project you're at, but you could be gone from anywhere from like 2 weeks to 30 days. Some companies will do a 13 and 7. Some will do a 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Luckily, the project that I'm on, it's only 5 and 2. So for the 5 and 2, for the local people, it's not a big deal. But I still, as you know, I get up on a Sunday night and I leave for work, and I don't get home till Friday night. So that, to be honest with you, for rotation, that's a drive-in, drive-out rotation. But that's the best one that I've had, considering that it used to take me a couple days to get to work and a couple days to get home. So when you're thinking about that, you're up, you've got a small family, and then I'm going to hop on a plane and I'm going to take 2 days to get to work, and then I'm going to be there at work for anywhere from 14 to 30 days, like I mentioned. And then you're isolated from everything. Like you live in a camp, you've got a work family basically, because you see your work colleagues more than your family. And while you're there, it's you get up, you work. Some guys will either do what I do, go to the gym, or there's a lot of folks up there that will do the opposite, and they'll go to the bar and they'll drink, and they'll go to the party scene. But it depends on where you're at, I think, in your life, of what direction you take. But it's the fact that you're gone from your families, you miss birthdays and celebrations and weddings and all that kind of stuff. Like, you sacrifice so much to go away to make a good life for yourself and your family, but you're sacrificing everything that's involved with your family and the celebrations on the flip side, right? So that's kind of how rotational work works in a nutshell.
Well, and I love that you mentioned sacrifice, because we're really talking about and speaking to people that are in this, what we're calling, blue collar mindset.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or a construction worker or an entrepreneur. If you're sacrificing certain areas of your life, whether it be your health or your relationships or family or even fulfillment, then you're out of balance. So what is it that you would say to not only the people that you work with, but people all over the world that are kind of, in this place of self-sacrifice because they're chasing money or they're chasing, things that maybe are taking them out of balance in their life.
Yeah, well, for sure. I think we talk a lot in our industry where it's work-life balance, and anybody that works like this or around the world that may be listening to this, we all know that saying that's one thing, but doing it is completely different, right? So we for me anyways, I've been doing this for a long time, so I've got a deep rooted responsibility that I feel if I'm not at work that things aren't going to be done the way they need to be, or I'm going to miss something that I should have been there for. So even on vacation, I was on vacation last week, and I'm answering phones, I'm taking emails, I'm doing Teams calls, and I was on one specifically for mental health, and the one of the people culture directors, he's like, Jay, you're spearheading mental health, and you just told me you're on vacation. What are you doing here? And I'm like, well, this was an important meeting, and I needed to be there. But moving forward, when I take vacation, I need to be able to do that. And for people listening, like you need to be able to disengage from those, from the work areas, from being 2 seconds from picking up a phone. And we all have a responsibility at work, but we also have a responsibility for our lives and our families and our own mental health. So just, being able to separate and walk away from work is something we have to be able to do. Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are the steps that you're taking within your business and in your line of work to support people in their mental health, and then what are maybe some of the tools and that sort of thing that people can start to lean on once they open up to the idea and start talking about it?
Yeah, you're talking about it is the big thing, right? So I'm excited to say we're doing all kinds of good things. So people that are, within corporations here, they're probably familiar with ERG. So an ERG is an employee resource group. So that is employee driven. So it's not from the senior folks, it's from the employees themselves. So I work for a company called Bird Construction, and we're a major construction company across Canada and into the States right now. So I'm happy to say that I started the first employee resource group wrapped around mental health awareness. So what we're doing there, and this is in its infant stages, we started spring of this year. So we're just kind of working on our mandates and putting the steps in place as a broader spectrum to be able to support our employees. Currently, we do monthly meetings within our own ERG team. Within the ERG structure, we have an executive sponsor, which is very exciting for my company to be able to support. And within that, then we look at being able to identify any gaps that we see within our own company, any industry best practice that other companies are doing to be able to support mental health. We're doing initiatives like holding an annual conference in regards to bringing in a special speaker or two to talk about, could be anything from PTSD to it could be a specialist with cold therapy to come in and teach us on breathing and cold therapy. So we are, again, in our infant stages to be able to develop that at a broader stage at an executive level to make sure that our employees know that we have the resources available to be able to support people that are dealing with a mental health issue within our organization. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really excited about this. So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to your story and how you said that you couldn't say anything when you're going through that.
Yeah.
So somebody who's this is new to them and they're just starting to deal with this stuff, or they're just opening up to the idea that maybe there is something going on.
Yeah.
What would you do, or what would you say to encourage them to speak up, that it's okay to talk about it?
Yeah, for sure. And that was a struggle for me, for sure. Like even when it first happened, I'm glad you were around too, because I know you had some issues. I think to answer that question is you got to find, and hopefully you have somebody within your circle that you can lean to, but find that one person in your circle that you're able to open up. The person that you feel most comfortable with could be a family member, could be a friend, could be an old coach, could be somebody that you've met at the gym if you don't have a real close circle, but find that one person that you feel like you can open up and have a conversation with, because I guarantee you, they say now 1 in every 3 in a room has suffered or knows somebody that's suffering with mental health. So if you're able to just open up and have that conversation, the person that you're going to talk to, if they don't have direct experience, they're going to know somebody, 2 people away that can assist you with what you're going through, right? And it's hard. There's a stigma within, especially construction industry, for folks and guys that look like myself to be able to talk about mental health. And breaking that stigma is the biggest thing that we need to be able to do moving forward. So guys feel comfortable, and I will speak guys a lot because I find women are able to talk about it a little bit easier than we are. So it's guys like myself that are able to find that person to have a closed door conversation with and say, listen, I'm not having a good day. I need a little bit of help, and we're slowly getting there. I find it's changed since when I got into the industry. It's changed tenfold. So, and we're getting better and better as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you spoke to that because as a man, we're not taught to speak. We're not taught to be vulnerable. We're taught that we got to be the protector. We've got to have things handled. We've got to take care of everything. And so, as you said, to be able to break that stigma and actually begin to open up and start to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a huge movement right now that's speaking to just that. So
For sure.
it's really, really important.
That is for sure, and even in the construction industry, because it's primarily male dominated. So I find that the major companies right now, the major contractors that I'm familiar with, are all taking these steps to move forward to be able to have these messages. Bell Let's Talk Day is a big day for mental health. So I had the pleasure of speaking in regard on behalf of my company, but I see that industry wide, a lot of companies are doing that. So and it comes from the executive level, right? So if your executives aren't buying into that path forward, then that's going to be a problem. So to me, I would say mental health is the future of construction industry, because if your workers aren't in mentally health in a good spot mentally, that could correlate into major things. It could correlate into incidents on your site. It could correlate into lack of production. The multitude of items that it could hit based on mental health of the employees, it goes a long way, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And staying in that kind of same line of thinking that guys kind of think like they have it all handled, or
yeah.
they can take care of it themselves, or that they don't need help. What would you say to some guys that still kind of carry that mentality?
Get past it, dude. Get past it. Like, we still do. There's still folks.
Sure.
There's still guys. There's still people that I know that they're still friends of ours that are like that, right? And I don't know. It's just accepting the fact that those are the old ways and that there's new ways. And we're so driven into being that tough guy that it took me a long time to be able to get past it, right? So take it firsthand from me. Like it's so much better on the other side when you speak about it, that you feel like there's a weight that's taken off your chest. It feels so much better. And the weight beforehand, before talking, is heavy. But I'm telling you, once that foot comes off the chest and you're opening up about it, it's mind blowing, right? It feels so much lighter when you can be able to do that. We had a meeting. I stepped into a meeting at work last week, and there was a training session going on. The facilitator says, "What's your company doing for mental health?" And I just walked in at that time. And I said, well, there's a guy right here in my training session that was, a pinnacle part of my own mental health, because there's two people at that time that knew that if I was having an anxiety attack, that I'd come in and I'd put my hand up. So where the facilitation was going on, where it was actually the room. So I walked into that room and the question was asked, and I said, well, this gentleman here about 2 months ago was in this exact room, and I walked in and I put my hand up, him and my construction manager, and they both knew at that time that I was struggling. So they took me away and they put me into a safe room, and they were able to talk me out of my anxiety attack. They knew that I couldn't be at work, that it was so deep that they needed to remove me. So they facilitated getting me off my site. So those are the types of people, those are the types of questions, those are the types of things that you can open up about once you're able to get past that stigma of I can't talk about it.
I love that. I love that. And what's coming to mind right now is that strong men can be vulnerable. Strong men can ask for help.
Absolutely.
And it's such a shift in mindset
Yeah.
to what we grew up with.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think the stronger man is able to be vulnerable now. That's it's not just the pretending like you're a rock. You're able to. It shows that you're a stronger person to be able to open up about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So we've been talking about peak performance as well, you
Yeah,
know, and again, I think there's this misconception or this program in society that says you can only be a peak performer in one area.
yeah,
Maybe it's business, maybe it's, you know, with achieving and making money or something like that. But you're going to sacrifice peak performance in every other area. You
yeah.
know, you're going to sacrifice your health or your relationships. So, what does peak performance mean to you?
It's to me, it's well rounded, right? Like you can't. You know, I've spent 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, I guess, training in the gym, and it was before it was physical. All I wanted to look on was the outside. That was my peak performance. As long as my body looked good, I was great. Then I realized over the years that's not the case. So I got into the spiritual side of things. So I'm wrapping, the physical and the spiritual, and then the mental side comes in. So it's having being capable of understanding that you need all three of those things, or if you have a fourth or a fifth that you feel it's in your realm, is being able to put enough into each of those pots to be able to make yourself feel full, and to me that's peak performance, right?
Know that.
Yeah.
Know that. Jason, anything else you want to leave our viewers with today that about mental health or what they can do to really kind of take their power, take their life back, and put it into their own hands?
To be honest with you, I think that we've covered a lot of things, but just be accepting, be open to trying new things. If one avenue is not working for you, source something else out. If the person that you're talking to, maybe you have a specialist or a psychologist. If you don't feel that fit with that person, move on to the next person. If you're stuck and you don't have somebody to talk to, there's so many resources out there that you can look into now that if it's not in your circle, there's areas, there's avenues, there's people that you can reach out to. So
It's amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing. Jason, thanks so much for being here, man. It's such an honor for me to be friends with you, and it's been what seems like 1,000 years, but
I'm sure we got 1,000
we got
more.
1,000 more to go,
Yeah,
and just super grateful for you being here and sharing your wisdom.
appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks all, and we've got much more. We're only in day one, so we're really just getting started. Stay tuned as we've got the rest of the day to go and 2 more days left after this.
Tune in, folks.